Hi. I wanted to take the time to share a little background, history, and some stories. I keep getting a lot of requests from people asking me to tell stories. So anyway, I'll update you on a couple. But when we first got started in the anti-human trafficking movement, I, the passion that was deposited within my heart to help these abused victims was tremendous. I'd never experienced that level of passion before, and I was so anxious to get started, and I couldn't wait for the opportunity to go and kick in a door and rescue these vulnerable children that were being exploited. Right? Well, I've been doing this for 14 years and I still haven't got to kick in a door. I'm not saying I don't want to, it just doesn't work that way. At least it hasn't been in my journey. It was very difficult in the beginning to even get an opportunity to assist, even as a volunteer. It took me 6 months of hard work and a lot of praying, and finally, it was through a friend that I was recommended and had my first opportunity, and that was in Juarez, Mexico, right at the end of the cartel war. And it was a very, very dangerous time, but I was so passionate. I said, hey, whatever, if we have opportunity, let's go. So we went down and was able to volunteer in a safe house in Juarez, Mexico. So that was a pretty cool beginning. But again, it was very difficult, especially where I came from, South Central Missouri, to be actively involved because at that time, human trafficking wasn't even discussed. It was like, what's that? People were so uninformed, and thankfully that's changed now. But we had no local places to work, so we created what was called a call center, and we started reaching out to girls that were being advertised in Kansas City and St. Louis, and we made tremendous amount of contacts. It was unbelievable. But the problem was when we found this one girl and she wanted out, we couldn't find an agency that would assist us. Um, they had to be the victim had to be referred by law enforcement, and we wasn't law enforcement. We were just a Christian NGO organization trying to do good, and that didn't work. And so we did contact law enforcement, and they said, "Well, when we have time, we'll look into it." And basically, this girl did not get any help from us anyway at the time. And my staff, they said, "We can't do this." They just were weeping and crying and said, "If we can't help these girls, I don't want to be involved." And so that drove us to look into what was needed, what was necessary. And so we started reaching out and trying to raise donations for transition homes, which we were able to do. But before we got our first transition home, we got a call to help a girl up in northern Missouri. She had just turned 18 years old, and she had been exploited a couple states away. The FBI did a sting operation, went in and rescued her, and she didn't have any family to go to, so they took her to one of her former foster homes that she had previously lived in, and they had called us because they had several foster children they didn't have room for. So we went up there trying to figure out how can we help her, and this was before we had a transition home. And again, the passion was so great. We wanted to help this young girl, uh, and so we did something that I would strongly recommend that you never do. Okay, we invited her into our home, and it wasn't that that was such a bad experience. It was just a difficult experience. It was a struggle. I'll never forget whenever it came time to uh, in the week to do laundry. She didn't have any laundry. And the reason she didn't have any laundry is because she always throws her dirty clothes away because her pimp always bought her new clothes. And so there was a lot of adjusting. And we ended up having some family members jump in and help. And finally was able to, be sure she got the type of care she needed. And the last I heard, she had gotten married, had a baby, and I just trust everything's going well. But it was very difficult. And now I still am very passionate about rescuing. I have been all this time. But if you can't find a place to take the girls after you rescue them, then you really haven't helped them. And rescuing is the fun part. That's the adrenaline part. That's the makes you feel like a good person. Or you're fulfilled and you're satisfied and you feel like a hero. Okay, right. But a transition home is where the work begins because now you've got to find out a way to connect with that victim and assist them and find some level of normalcy to their lives. And it's not easy. They've been traumatized. And every one of them come from a different background, a different history, different situation. And so you're given this opportunity to sow into their lives and try to influence them in a positive way to help them overcome the hurt, the trauma. There's just a lot of issues that come with that. We were blessed. We ended up with 3 transition homes, 2 in South Central Missouri for adult victims and 1 in Juarez, Mexico for minor victims. And I believe the total was, it was about 92, maybe 94 victims we were able to help while we had our transition homes. And so the challenge with all that is everything that we do, everything that we did in relation to anti-trafficking was tied to donations. So when the donations came in, we were able to assist. And it's very difficult. It's not easy. We never did qualify for government grants. Matter of fact, we found that at that time the system was not really designed to help the victims. And so there wasn't any government funding. As a matter of fact, a lot of the government agencies that we reached out to assist as far as with medical assistance, social, psychological issues, different things. It wasn't there. There was no donated food. There was just nothing. And no matter which direction we went, the government facilities and systems just didn't assist. So we took what we had and we reached out to the community of people that we were connected with. And we had doctors and nurses and counselors and food banks and all of these great Christian people jump on board and say, hey, you know what? I can donate this or I can donate that. And because of all that, we were able to help several girls. And I treasure those relationships that I made. And it's so cool. Every once in a while on Facebook, I'll hear from one of them or get a text message and we get to reconnect for a little bit. And I'm just so thankful for those years of working with them. But here, I'm in Cambodia now, based here. If you follow any of our story on Facebook, and we've expanded now to TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, and that is so all beyond me. But we're putting forth the effort because we're back in the same situation. We need to raise funds for training centers or transition homes, however you want to call it, here in Cambodia. We have 3 government agencies that's reached out to us and said, please, please help us. And here's the situation, and this is just being brutally honest. When there is a raid and law enforcement is involved and they go in and they rescue a group of girls, or they do a raid, or they shut down this beer garden or KTV or whatever it is they may be targeting, and they come across all of these girls that's being sold. Well, the adult victims, there's no place for them. There's nothing. So basically, unless they're a foreign individual, now foreign victims, what happens with them, they go into protective custody, then they're sent through their embassy back to their home country. And that's it. There's no more contact after that. But with the local, like Cambodian girls, if they're an adult, there's nothing for them. So basically, they get pulled out of this business. The business is shut down. The owner's arrested. Then the girls go across town and go back to work. There's no hope. There's nothing you can do for them. Now, the minor victims, they're taken into the custody of social services. And hopefully, if one of the agencies or NGOs that helps the government by providing transition services for these girls, if they have openings, they will take the girls. But the problem is there's more victims than there are transition homes. There's more victims than there's help. And so that's why the government agencies are asking us, please help us, please do something. We need assistance. And so we are doing everything we can do to get the word out, trying to get people to jump on board, say, hey, listen, we want to do this. Because if the young girls don't have a safe place to go, they don't have a transition home to be placed into. If they're turned back out on the streets, then they're going to turn right around and go back and start selling themselves again. And it's a vicious cycle. And it breaks your heart. It just absolutely breaks your heart. And so, again, we're making appeals. We're asking people to help us. And if you're one of those people that want to help, then go to our website, rescueanddefend.com. And there's a place there where you can donate and you can see what we're doing. But I've had some awesome stories that I can share, but I'm just going to share one. I was asked to travel to a foreign country, and there's myself and another individual. We were both Americans. And this government had been building a case for like 2 years, but they needed to finish it. And to help them finish the case, they needed a couple wealthy Americans to come down and be willing to spend a lot of money with party packages and purchasing girls, and they needed all of that recorded, and they needed to be able to, again, complete the case. And so I had the honor and privilege of being invited to be a part of that operation. We did 4 operations in that country in a short period of time, and all 4 was 100% successful. And then we left the country, and 5 days after we left the country, law enforcement did this amazing raid, and they videotaped every bit of the raid and sent it to us. And what they waited for is one morning, right after daylight, they swarmed 6 international traffickers, and they went in and arrested them all at the same time. Over 60 girls were rescued in that raid. And what was amazing is I looked at the video, and they went into these buildings, and I've recognized some of the girls that we had seen, that we had met. And so here we are, and getting to view that, and it was an honor. It was an absolute honor to have a small part to play in that. And the icing that was on the cake was that the last video they sent us was where these 6 traffickers were standing before the judge after they were arrested. And so there's a lot of things to be celebrated in this walk. There's a lot of challenges. It's not easy, but it's very fulfilling. So anyway, that's, again, just a little background and a quick story. Just encourage you, jump on board and help us. If you feel led to help some other organization, check into them, see what they're doing, and if you feel good about them, help them. What can I say is, let me put it this way. There is more need than there are resources to help meet those needs. So anyway, thank you for all your considerations. I hope you have a blessed day.